Hello, everyone. Hi. How are you in particular this Wednesday afternoon or at the end of your workday for some of you guys on the East Coast? It's great to see you. If you're here, make sure you say hi. Let me know in the comments. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about what it means to 3x your vision for your career and how you can actually use that 3x vision to catapult your success, to get a promotion even faster, and to also guarantee that you're going to have success once you get there. And let me just start off before I dive into it with saying that it's not just about vision boarding, right? It's not just about thinking bigger. It's actually a very practical tool that you can begin to implement and see results like yesterday. So who am I? My name is Stacey Mayer. I am an executive coach, and I am fully committed to getting more senior executive leaders at the top. I am giving you the tools every single day of my career and through my podcast to get yourself promoted into senior executive leadership. I have been working with executives for the past several years. And one of the things that I really noticed is that becoming a better manager didn't always equal getting recognition. Instead, it equaled more responsibility, more work, better outcomes for the organization. But at the end of the day, I was finding that my leaders were feeling a little bit frustrated, right? A little bit less than satisfied at their job. And so I decided to really investigate and ask the questions and challenge my clients to do what is necessary to get themselves promoted into senior executive positions versus what they thought was the right thing to do. And that is what I have put together into all of my trainings and programs in my 6-week group intensive called Executive Ahead of Time, which is really focused on how can you become the executive now, which not only gives you more promotion opportunities, but allows you to have success once you get there. So I'm going to get into this question, but I just wanted to give you that brief overview so that you knew kind of the angle that I'm looking at. And that's also going to tell you how I'm going to answer this question. So I did a webinar yesterday with a colleague of mine named Lila Bullington, and I hosted a webinar called 3 Unconscious Habits That Are Preventing You from Getting Promoted. And one of the participants in the webinar shared with us a technique that he uses. So this was the comment that he shared. One thing that I do is create a list of what my boss is doing differently and then acquire that knowledge or skill. So this is such a great statement that I am going to unpack and kind of flip it on its head, right? So the way that he positioned this statement was that he looks at what his boss is doing differently and then acquires that knowledge or skill, right? So this is for him to become a better manager. So this is an excellent technique. It's a good thing to do. Generally, we can look at somebody and say, what does he know that I don't know? What is he doing right now, like his job requirements? And I saw this statement and I thought, that is so interesting because what that statement doesn't say is 2 things. It doesn't say, I look at my boss and I think, how is he thinking and communicating differently than me? And how do I acquire the ability to think and communicate differently? Right? So you see how that's different than what are those skills that my boss is doing that I'm not doing? And how can I start to do those or learn those? Right? And then more like, how does my boss think and communicate different than me right now? And then the second piece that I shared with him on the webinar was, how did my boss get in that position? Right? And that's a question you actually have to ask your boss. You can't see from the outside. You have to open the door and have a conversation with your boss. how did they get into the role that they're in? So either one of these questions, actually both, are better for your career, for your professional development to ask. Now, if you just want to become a better manager, then look at your boss and say, what kind of skills does he do that I don't do, and how do I acquire those? And I totally recommend that, and you should do that and all those things. But if you want to get the recognition that you deserve, if you want to advance yourself into higher levels of leadership, if you want to make sure that you are in a position of influence and power and can really drive change at your organization, then you have to ask different questions. So it's the same thing, but it's slightly different. So instead of saying, what skills would I need to acquire? You are asking, how are they thinking and communicating different than me? And how can I start thinking and communicating in that way today? And then you're also asking, how did they get into the role that they're in? Right? So both of those questions are going to get you so much farther in your career than just asking, what technical skills would I need to acquire? So this brings me into the title of today's live broadcast, which is, how can you use a 3X vision to catapult your career? So the reason that he brought this up on the webinar is because I was talking about my concept of 3X vision. And this is also module 2 of my Executive Ahead of Time program, where I teach every single one of the participants how to 3X their vision. So on the surface, it feels a little bit like, thinking bigger, definitely you should broaden your horizons. One of the quick outcomes that people find is that when they 3X their vision, they feel more inspired, they feel motivated to take action, they stay in a place of possibility, which is always better than looking at what's right in front of you and all the obstacles and all the things you would have to overcome, which usually doesn't create action, right? So that is definitely a benefit of having a 3X vision, is it helps you think bigger, it helps you do that. But the other benefit is that it helps you make decisions today about your career choices. So, for instance, what would my boss do differently? Right? That is an excellent question to ask yourself when you're 3Xing your vision. What would my CFO do? So not the next position, even like your boss, but the next promotion, right? So what would my CFO do? What would my CEO do differently, right? Like how do they make decisions? How do they drive change? How are they thinking and communicating like an executive that I am not doing now? So that is the practical application. And the way this works, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about Executive Ahead of Time, because we actually have our bonus, which expires tomorrow, right? So I want to make sure you have everything that you need, that if you're ready to sign up for this program, that you just jump right in and do it. So I'm going to put the URL there. So when my friend is asking this question, which is, I start to think about my boss's job and how can I acquire those skills? And I'm saying you need to think about how you can think and communicate like an executive leader. That's 100% the premise of Executive Ahead of Time, right? I teach you all of the skills so that you can begin thinking and communicating like an executive. You can find management trainings, right? You can go out there and sign up for a course. But what is less tangible is, how do I think and communicate like an executive so that I can finally get the recognition that I deserve, so that I can finally make that impact that I want to be making at my organization. And so that's what this program is focused on. So if you're all about changing your ways now, not waiting to have influence when you become the executive, but having influence today, then this program is the absolute perfect program for you. And in module 2 of this process, I talk about how to 3X your vision. And then in module 5 of this process, I talk about how to turn that vision into a promotion blueprint for yourself, so that you actually have a tangible takeaway that says, you know what, it's no longer intangible anymore. It's no longer magic that some people get promoted and some people don't. I actually know the magic sauce. I actually know what it takes. And I didn't just make this up, I practiced it, right? I actually challenged my clients to start showing up in this way. I challenged them to begin thinking and communicating, and three things happened. One is they got promoted faster. Two is that they were happier in their day to day. And three is that they understood how to be successful once they actually got into that position. So they had more success once they actually did get promoted. So I want to encourage all of you. Like I said, our bonus actually expires tomorrow. What is the bonus? The bonus is an additional coaching session with me. We're going to have a group kickoff call this Friday, and I would love to have you be on that. So definitely check out executiveaheadoftime.com. If you have any questions, you can DM me and let me know what your questions are so that we can just zip, zip, zip and do it so that you're set up to never get passed over for a promotion again, to have all the tools that you need to make it into a senior executive leadership position and be successful once you get there. Thanks so much for joining. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the program. Take care. Bye.